You are listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast exploring Scripture and all things related to it. New episodes are released daily. For more information, check out glossahouse.com and subscribe to our channels on Spotify and YouTube. Welcome and enjoy.
Shalom and welcome to another episode of SLA Insights. My name is Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and we're continuing some examples of how to improve vocabulary learning, some specific activities that can help with the initial learning and or the long-term access and storage of vocabulary and therefore retrieval. Last week I talked about flashcards and how to use those well. This week I'm going to talk about three different approaches or activities, but as you'll see that they overlap. They're all very similar, which is why I'm covering them together today in one episode. These are strategies for improving retention of vocabulary items. The idea behind these is that you're spending, or the student who's learning them, is spending a little more time intentionally focusing on the word, longer than the flip of a flashcard, and it's going to create a stronger and more durable memory trace that will improve learning, deeper learning, and easier retrieval when it comes time. The good thing about these is they can be used in conjunction with flashcards, and so this is not an either-or kind of thing. It's another way to supplement and improve your second language vocabulary learning. So the three different strategies are called imaging, instantiation, and the keyword technique. And again, they all kind of overlap a little bit, definitely all in the same vein in terms of the strategy used for trying to learn and access the vocabulary. So the first vocabulary activity or strategy is called imaging. And just like it sounds, the student is going to create a deliberate visual image of the word that he or she's learning to help in the learning process and help with retrieval. So if you're learning the word for tree, you're going to imagine a tree. If you're learning the word for disciple, you're going to imagine one of the followers surrounding Jesus during his ministry. And it's as simple as that. You're just spending a little extra time focusing on the word and really getting to the meaning, getting beyond just that English gloss, as it were, if you were just using flashcards by themselves. So that's imaging. The second is what's called instantiation, and kind of absorbs imaging in a sense. The learner in this case is going to recall a specific instance, hence instantiation, experience or example of the meaning of the word to help with recall. So it could be an image as in imaging, but it's a little broader than that. More of a situation or an event related to that word. So it could be the item itself. You happen to remember a specific example. If you're thinking a dish or a cup, you can think about a specific dish or cup that is in your own cupboard. It could be a picture or some other representation of the item. But some of the best examples and for the best learning will involve specific real-life experiences or interactions with this type of word. So, for example, if you're learning the word break, you might want to think about a specific time that you broke a dish or a glass in your kitchen. And that is going to help because now you've related your own personal experience with that word. And it's no longer something abstract out there. It's now part of your personal history. And you've been able to label it with this L2 word, be that Hebrew, Greek, Latin, whatever it is that you're using. So that's instantiation. The third, and again, similar, kind of overlapping, is called the keyword technique. And this is a particular type of strategy that may sound a little odd at first, but there's been a significant amount of research backing it up and its usefulness for learning vocabulary. So just to give you an overview of what it is, and then I'll give you a few examples. It's, again, very similar to imaging or instantiation, used as a mnemonic device, and it uses the learner's creativity. And so the procedure then is for each new vocabulary item in the second language, L2 vocab, you're going to think about an L1 word, in my case it would be English, that sounds like the beginning of the word or all of the word. And then you take that and you take the English word that it sounds like together with the L2 word that you're learning and combine the two in some kind of fanciful, imaginative image in your mind. And the more imaginative the image, the more memorable it is and the more helpful it will work to help you in learning that L2 vocab. So let me give you a couple examples. The first comes from Greek. If you think about karpos, or fruit, the student might hear the initial sound of the word in English sounds like carp, or the fish carp. The student would then create a mental picture of the fish eating fruit. Now, silly, not related to the real world at all, but that's part of the beauty of it, because the more odd and fanciful it is, the more memorable it will be. And so when you get to karpos, you think, oh, carp, fish eating fruit, got it. It's fruit. Now, it takes a little while to get there at first, but after a few iterations, you can leave out all the fanciful stuff in between and just go straight from karpos to fruit. Another example for Hebrew would be kisei, chair or throne. And so you might think of the English word kiss, kisei, and visualize someone kissing a chair or throne. Or you can make it less imaginative and say they're kissing the hand of the king who sits on the throne, and that would work as well. And so that's the key word technique. And again, it's been supported by a lot of experimental research that shows that it is effective in helping learners with new vocabulary. Now, there are a few limitations with especially the keyword technique, and some of this will also apply to imaging and instantiation. The first limitation is that when you're creating your image for any of the three techniques, it's most effective when the learner, not the teacher, identifies the keyword and creates the image. Because it needs to use the learner's imagination, and they need to spend the time thinking about it, working through it, because that's part of what's laying that memory trace. And so it's important, if you're a teacher, to teach your students how to do it, but don't do it for them, because you're shortcutting the learning process. The second limitation is that some words are just more suitable than others. So if your L2 word is more concrete, visual, visible, it's easier to use the imaging and keyword technique for. If it's more abstract, then it's a little more difficult to use these strategies for creating and learning them. Another limitation that's been noted by some studies that have done research on this keyword technique is that it seems to be most effective for initial learning. And as the learner encounters the word more and more often, that it's going to need to be supplemented by other vocabulary learning techniques. And so it's great to get you started. But as I said, at the beginning, when you've got karpos and you've got to go through all these steps to get to fruit, initial learning, the first few exposures to the word, is where it's going to be the most helpful. And then as the learner becomes more familiar with it, has more exposures, more experience, then all the imaginative stuff in the middle can drop out, and it's better reinforced by other vocabulary learning activities. However, in spite of these limitations, the overwhelming evidence is that it is effective and it works in a variety of contexts. And so I would encourage you to give it a try for yourself and or for your students to help them learn new vocabulary items using imaging, instantiation, and or the keyword technique. Because again, these will provide an extra amount of time and effort to work through them, which helps make a more secure memory trace and will improve the retention and retrieval of those items when it comes time. So that's your SLA insight for today. In upcoming episodes, I'm going to talk about more complex types of vocabulary strategies and activities to help with learning and deeper learning of those vocabulary items. I hope you can join me. In the meantime, have a great week.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.